Hello everybody, and welcome to my first video of an 8-week series for School of Van Horne that I am calling Weddings 101. I'm going to be talking about some advice, tips, tricks, little rants, and things that I want you to think about when you're planning your big day. Why should I be telling you about this? Well, I have spent the last 9 years working as an event planner, doing weddings, fundraisers, corporate functions, so I know a thing or two about planning your big day. I am going to start with my first topic, which is choosing the perfect date. Now, full disclosure for all you groomzillas, bridezillas, brides, grooms, maid of honors, best man, mother-in-law, father-in-law, or whoever's just watching this because you're always a bridesmaid and never a bride. I will probably offend you at some point because I don't believe the perfect wedding exists, but I believe that there is a way to create a kick-ass day that you will not regret. So there's 3 main things that I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about the different seasons. I want to talk to you about the different days of weeks. And I want to talk to you about holidays and religious dates. Starting off, let's talk about the seasons. Now, for some of you, you've probably grown up wanting to get married in the summer because it is the perfect season. Well, I'm going to let you know, summer weddings are shit. Now, you're probably thinking, how is that possible? It is the most popular season. Well, I will also tell you, winter weddings are shit, fall weddings are shit, and exactly, spring weddings are shit. At the end of the day, any season has its list of pros and cons. Let me just break down some of the cons for each of the seasons. Starting off with summer. The heat drives people crazy. A lot of you want to get married outside, you want to get married on the water, you want to have those beautiful pictures in the garden, and I completely understand. However, just as much as you're worried about the winter and the spring and the rain and the snow, also, I've had a lot of weddings that have been shut down because of the heat or been moved inside. You have to remember that there's times that we get 30 plus weather, and when you are wearing a wedding dress, your hair is done, you're wearing lots of makeup, or gentlemen, when you're wearing a suit, a tie, and your top button is done up, it can be quite excruciating to be outside and be in that sun. As well, you're gonna have some older guests at your wedding. They also do not like the sun. So as much as it can be a beautiful season with beautiful pictures, and it is very popular, I've seen a lot of people very irritated in summer weddings. And you wanna think about that if you're not necessarily someone who loves the heat. Also, you're not just wearing clothes, you're wearing a full suit, or ladies, you are wearing probably one of the heaviest dresses that you'll ever wear. So as much as it may seem like summer's a sure bet, there's lots that can go wrong. So again, it's not necessarily the perfect season. Moving on to spring. Spring is a no-brainer. Rain, 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 and in some cases, maybe even snow and ice. I know because my birthday's in the beginning of April, and trust me, my birthday's been canceled many times due to ice storms. However, like all seasons, if you get a good, decent spring day, sometimes it can even be better than the summer. The fall's very unpredictable. It usually has a bit cooler air, which can be nice. It's probably my personal favorite season to hold a wedding. But like any season, the weather goes up, the weather goes down, and sometimes it can be just too chilly for you ladies that want to wear maybe lighter dresses. So keep in mind that the fall has its downsides as well. And of course, we don't have to talk about winter because I think we both know what can go wrong in the winter. You can have minus 15 weather, you can have terrible snow, slush, sleet, but you can also have a winter wonderland. So like I said, there's plus and minuses to all seasons. So the best way to choose the season that's right for you is to be simple about it. What is your favorite season? How do you want to feel on your wedding day, and what's going to be the most comfortable for you? Next up, I want to talk about how to choose the day of the week that's right for you. To start off at the beginning of the week, let's look at Monday to Thursday. Now, some of you may think it's absolutely ridiculous to think that you could get married on any of these days, and believe it or not, I've done a wedding on pretty much all of them. Monday to Thursdays naturally get a significant discount in comparison to getting married on the weekend. And if you don't think it's something that's possible, trust me, I've done it many times. If you even take Thursdays, for example, a lot of Jewish couples choose to get married on Thursdays because they can't get married on Fridays and Saturdays for religious reasons. And they sometimes have guest counts of 200 and 300 people. And believe me, I've seen them all stay all night. Fridays and Sundays, I am a big fan of Fridays and Sundays, and I oftentimes will try and convince my clients to book one of those dates. Fridays and Sundays get some discounting depending on the venue you book with and depending on your vendors as well, but usually they're cheaper than getting married on a Saturday because they're less in demand. If you don't think that people will take a day off work to come to your wedding on Friday, first of all, you should probably remove them off the guest list. I can tell you that most people will take the Friday off to do last minute running around for your Saturday wedding anyways. So now you've gone and you've spent all this money just to get married on a Saturday for everyone to take off the Friday so they can go find that dress or those shoes or that tie that they didn't pick up in advance. So I would definitely suggest when you're booking with a venue, especially if you're considering a weekend date, you want to ask them if there are any discounts for a Friday or a Sunday, and even ask them to provide you with a contract so that you can see the difference in pricing and see if you think it's worth it. Getting married on a Saturday is, of course, always a great thing because a lot of people have the weekends off. But I will say they are a lot more expensive, and you're definitely going to need a budget if you want to get married on a prime date in a prime location. Now, believe me when I say the only thing you're paying for is the day of the week. There is no difference in terms of how many of your guests will show up and will they be there all night. So if you have your heart set on a Saturday, I urge you to consider, just take a look at all the other days and make sure that you don't have another option that you're not considering simply because you didn't know. The next thing I want to talk about is holidays and religious observances. Now, a lot of people do look at long weekends, and I'm not blasting anybody who gets married on a long weekend. However, people are talking about you behind your back. They're insulting you and they're complaining that they're not going to make it to their cottage. Now, I just said this is the one time of the year that you're going to ask them to do that, so why should you care? Well, if you think about it, some people simply won't come to your wedding, and if you want the guest count that you're looking for, then you may want to consider it moving to a time that's going to be a little more convenient. For some of you that are dead set on having your wedding on a long weekend, you should consider the Friday of the long weekend because then everyone still has Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to go enjoy their regularly scheduled activities. It's not to say necessarily that your guests will care. That you could maybe talk to your friends and family about if they would care if it was a long weekend. But I do think that a lot of people think it's a no-brainer. And to me, it's not necessarily any better than any of the other dates because you're still uprooting people's lives. And in the summertime, people have a very, very busy schedule where they're planning lots of travel. So they may not necessarily appreciate having to break that up to come to your wedding day. You're important, but sometimes you're just not that important. In terms of religious dates, you definitely are going to want to adhere to any religious observances, especially if you're getting married in a church. Obviously, the church is very specific on the days that you can get married. And if you are getting married off-site, but you're going to bring an officiant from your religion, you may want to talk to them as well before considering any of those dates. So if you have a lot of people coming to your wedding that are of a specific religious background, you're definitely going to want to adhere to that because that is going to cause a bit of a ruffle, especially between the families. That's when you're going to want to talk to your in-laws. It's a tough feat, but it's got to be done. A few quick notes. In terms of pricing, you're looking at the most expensive season definitely being from May to September. A lot of people think that September is going into the fall, but September is actually one of the busiest wedding months of the year and is sometimes even busier than June. If you're going for a Saturday from May to September, you should expect to pay quite a bit more than if you're choosing another season or a different day of the week. January to March probably falls in the cheapest time to get married. That's often when a lot of venues are dead, and because of the weather, a lot of people are scared to get married during this season, but they actually are quite beautiful weddings and save you quite a bit of money. Now, for those of you that have your heart set on getting married on a Saturday, by choosing a Saturday in one of these months, you've got a higher chance of still getting some form of price break. Fridays and Sundays definitely fall into the cheaper category, and year round you can pretty much get a discount, but don't be fooled. Fridays and Sundays of a long weekend don't always qualify for a cheaper price. So if you're thinking of being smart and choosing a Sunday but going with a holiday weekend, you might want to rethink it. Taking all this into consideration, what am I basically trying to say? Find a date that's right for you, find a date you're comfortable with, and don't open it up to too many people or you just may find yourself caught between a rock and a hard place. Hopefully I've given you something to think about. Did you have any challenges when you were picking your date? Is there anything I didn't cover that you want my opinion on? Comment, subscribe, like, engage. or cuss me out if I said something that offended you. And to any of my clients who may potentially be watching, if I insulted the time of year that you're getting married, I promise you there's an upside, and I'm happy to talk about it with you face to face. That's my episode, everybody. I hope I've given you something to think about, and good luck finding the perfect date that's right for you. If there's anything I didn't cover, leave me a comment and I will make sure to share some thoughts on the subject. Stay tuned for my future videos covering lots of different subjects that have to do with weddings. Over the next 8 weeks, I will be sharing my thoughts, views, rants, opinions, and anything else. If there's something you want to make sure that I cover, definitely leave a comment and I will make sure to get to it. Thank you for listening, and I will see you next time.